I recently was able to ride the 2022 Ryker 900. My sole intention on this ride was to see what it was like to ride a newer model Ryker. I didn't have any plans other than just experiencing it and wanted to ride it with an open mind in the hopes to take it all in. After the ride is when I sat down and thought about the things that I experienced and what someone might be interested in knowing about. Mainly I figured that most people will be interested in what is the difference of the Ryker versus the Spyder. So for the first part of this video, I'm going to cover what the Ryker has and the specs and the overall placement of what the Ryker is in the Can-Am road lineup. The middle part will be talking about the Ryker and what the differences are compared to the Spyder. And for the last part of the video, I'm going to talk about riding it from my perspective after riding a Spyder F3 for over 4 years. I'll discuss my likes and dislikes of the Ryker as well. My hopes for this video are that I will cover things you might be interested in, but I'm sure I won't cover everything. If there is something I don't cover that you're curious about, please feel free to comment, and if you're concerned about a comment being posted and would rather email, you are more than welcome to do so as well. I'll be glad to help the best I can. Now I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope it answers some questions you might have. So let's just start from top to bottom in comparing the Ryker to the Spyder F3. The Ryker has adjustable handlebars and foot pegs that do not require tools to change positions. You simply adjust them. The Spyder, on the other hand, requires you to purchase separate parts and have tools to adjust. This is a big plus for the Ryker to me. It would be nice if sometimes the Spyder I ride would be that easily adjusted on handlebars and foot pegs. The dash lacks a lot on the Ryker to me. I feel like I'm looking at my cell phone sideways and at a cheap app whenever I'm riding it. A small dash does keep costs down, but honestly I'd rather have just seen an old-fashioned needle gauge and tack. I think it would actually look better. And the Spyder's digital dash is a huge improvement over the Ryker's. The Ryker is fully automatic where the Spyder is semi-automatic. You have no say-so in the shifting process other than forward and reverse on the Ryker. Both are very easy to learn to ride if you've never ridden. And then the only advantage that the Ryker has over the Spyder in learning to ride is that you do not have to learn to shift. You just simply twist and go on the throttle. Now on the other hand, if you like to be involved in the shifting process, there's nothing on the Ryker over the Spyder on that part. At least with a Spyder you get to be in control of shifting up and down if you want. The panels on the Ryker are easily customizable, swappable to give you a unique look, and the Spyder takes a little more work, cost, and added items to make it unique. You sit lower in the Ryker and are closer to the ground than on the Spyder, and you feel like you sit more in the bike, which you actually do, than the Spyder F3, and then you sit more on top of the bike when you're in RT. Storage space is not that great compared to the Spyder's front. The Ryker has a very small front compartment. You're limited to, of course, registration you need to keep in there, but a wallet, cell phone, maybe a pair of sunglasses, and maybe room for your gloves. That's about it. Having a passenger on the Ryker is not great at all and way better on the Spyder. The seat comfort for the driver is not that great on the Ryker compared to the Spyder. For the passenger, it is non-existent on the Ryker 600, and it is not much better at all on the 900s. For the Ryker, if I'd have bought it, my wife probably wouldn't ride it. The Ryker is shaft driven and the Spyder is belt driven for the rear tire. The shaft drive is better than belt driven on motorcycles as far as maintenance and wear, but I've had no issues with the belt on my Spyder F3, still going strong after 4 years and have had no issues. Now the Ryker lacks horsepower and torque compared to the Spyder. The Spyder is faster and has a higher top speed. The Ryker 600 has 50 horsepower, the Ryker 900s have 82 horsepower, and the Spyder across the board sits at 115 horsepower. Now I've watched a lot of videos where people talk about the Ryker and how fast it gets up compared to the Spyder, but honestly, if you have a pedal commander or you're in sport mode on the Spyder, you can get the same fast response that the Ryker gets. Really, I wasn't impressed, but I've rode a Spyder versus the Ryker. It does seem to get up a little bit faster, and I think part of that reason is because it's shaft driven. There's no slack like there is in a belt to get up and go. But basically with the pedal commander, mine has the same type of torque and get up and go that the Ryker did, if not more. I can't fairly compare the gas mileage on the Ryker to the Spyder because I've not ridden the Ryker enough to give a real world result, so for this I apologize, but I would rather just not quote numbers and actually give you an example. But for my Spyder F3, I do get 30 to 35 miles per gallon if I'm in eco mode and kind of watch being on the throttle a lot. The Ryker 600 I do not recommend whatsoever taking on roads that are over 55 miles per hour and above. The Ryker 900s are okay for interstate driving though, and the Spyder is good for any speed. The reason the 600 I say I don't recommend on interstates is basically because the top speed is not that great, and it is better to not go slow on the interstate. That is a good way of getting hit, so that's why I recommend not riding the 600 on interstates. The Ryker Rally is okay to off-road on, where the Spyder is not. So for the Ryker Rally, this is a huge win over the Spyder. I would actually love to take it off-roading. Sounds like a lot of fun, and it is built for it. So both the Ryker and Spyder I think are very sporty looking and are unique in looks in their own way. So really there's no way for me to compare this. People have different opinions, but for me, I do like the looks of the Spyder better. I think it's more of a sleek motorcycle look compared to the Ryker, and I just like the style of it. To me, the Ryker is more for short outings and around town riding. I would not want to take long or multiple day trips on the Ryker. The Spyder is good for local, short and long trips and wins over the Ryker on comfort in this way for sure. Now this part of the video is solely my opinion on things. I've ridden my Spyder for over 4 years now, and I'm happy I made the choice every time I ride it. So first thing for me is it was hard to go from a Spyder F3 to the Ryker for a lot of reasons, and I tried very hard not to be critical, but it was hard. Both are fun vehicles and have good points to each and advantages of one over the other, but ultimately it depends on what you're looking for in the motorcycle. This is honestly just my opinion, and I tried to be about as fair as I could, but to me there was a huge difference, and unfortunately it was negative in the Ryker side. So let's start with the likes. I do like the looks of the Ryker 900 and some of the color combos. It can look very sporty, and I like the way the bike tire stands out more on the back than on the Spyder. It seems like it sticks out more, and to me it just kind of looks better on the back end. It looks more like a sport or hot rod type look. I like the way that you really sit in the bike and have the ability to quickly adjust the handlebars and foot pegs. This was a huge, nice feature for me. If you had a friend that you wanted to ride the bike, you don't have to go through changing the brake linkage or everything like that you would on the Spyder F3. It is great. Like if my wife wanted to ride it, I could quickly adjust instead of having to go through the trouble of installing things like this and that. And some days I just ride differently than I do others, so having the handlebars being able to move back and forth would be great for different days and how I feel like riding. On the Rally Edition, they did a great job on making it very adjustable on the suspension. You can see it throughout the body, and it's very easily done. It's well thought out and a smart decision on their part. This, along with the extras for protection like the guard on the hands and the A-arm debris guards, are well thought out, and I like the push bar in the front. I just like the looks of a push bar on any vehicle. I've got Jeeps, and the F3 I have has one as well. The Ryker is a great toy to have fun with and not hurting your wallet too bad on. So now the bad. The biggest thing for me was just the comfort of the ride. Within about 5 minutes into the ride, I was already aware of the difference in ride comfort versus the Spyder. In the Ryker, I felt every bump in the road, the vibration of the bike made my fingers numb, and what little bit of a butt I have was feeling how uncomfortable the Ryker seating is. Huge difference than on the Spyder F3. If I was off-roading, the comfort wouldn't have bothered me just because it is what it is. But the fact that I was on a paved road and still feeling the ride was not okay with me. The vibration was a big difference, noticeable difference when you're going from the Spyder to the Ryker. Now, I do not care for windshields in the first place, but the one that was on this Ryker was extremely annoying for me. I know this might sound petty, but it was very annoying. I found myself leaning to the right or left to try and look around the windshield due to the distorted view. Where the windshield curves, it had double lines and a very distorted image. The middle part was curved and wasn't a whole lot of space that gave me a clear view. This became worse to me as we hit curves. I would have enjoyed the ride a whole lot more without the windshield. And in the RT video I will have out soon, I rode with a windshield and actually didn't mind it at all. It was a good windshield and very nice ride, comfortable ride. But in this Ryker, between the glare and the double lines and the vision and doubling this and that, plus it was warped a little bit, and I don't mean warped in a bad way, it's just where the where it curves to be look for the bike, you have a weird view. And literally I was leaning left and right trying to get a clear view, so the whole ride, that ruined it for me. The automatic transmission for me was boring after a while. I felt disconnected from any of the shifting process, and at certain RPMs the bike sounded like it was over revved and I wanted to shift it so bad. I have to admit I was getting a little stressed out feeling wise, wanting to shift and hearing the engine revved so high at slow speeds. It probably won't come through on sound that good, but here's one example of going slow and sounding like you revved way too high. The dash almost seems like a waste. Again, I mentioned this before. You are so uninvolved with any shifting that other than the speed, fuel, and changing driving modes, there's no need for the cell phone size display. I really would have rather seen a nice needle-based non-digital display to give it a rally type feel. The gauge, among other things, on the bike felt super cheap, and this truly is just an opinion on this one as far as cosmetics. Again, I would have rather seen just a little dial dash. I think it would have looked better on the bike and probably made it look a little bit cooler to me. It is a little bit cheaper on the 600s and stuff like that, but to me, when you start getting into the 900s and Ryker rallies, you're looking at costs, and if you try and upgrade it to get comfort like the Spyder or dashes or anything like that, windshields, you end up getting basically into the price of a low-end Spyder for a lot less features and whatnot. So the other thing that was not a huge notice, but I did notice a difference in steering on the Ryker versus the Spyder F3. Because it does not have a power assisted steering on the Ryker, you feel it in when you're turning. So I only noticed it because I ride the Spyder F3 that does have power assisted steering. Otherwise I would probably have not known it if I've never rode one before. Overall, I was glad that my decision was in buying a Spyder over the Ryker, and I didn't make this video to sway people away from the Ryker. That's not my sole purpose. I'm just being honest and giving you an opinion on the Ryker versus the Spyder in my eyes. The Ryker does not fit my needs and would only be a toy for me if I was getting one. But for other people, it might be a perfect fit over the Spyder. And it was a lot of fun, so I do see why people buy it, and especially if you go off-roading with it, the Rally is a way better option than the Spyder. But overall, the Ryker did feel cheap to me compared to the Spyder. All in all, no matter what you choose in a Can-Am lineup, you are getting a good motorcycle and a lot of fun with it. And the main thing, people, is that you're just getting out and having fun riding. So no matter what it is, just get out and do it. It is a lot of fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I answered questions that you might have about it. Again, if there's one in here that I missed, just leave me a little comment or shoot me an email. I'll be glad to help you. And thanks for watching.